me sound too shitty in a tissue box. There you go, that's nice. Okay, welcome to the next episode of Before the Crowd. My name is Guy Monk, so I'm sat here this week with Luke Cooper. Luke works for AudioNetwork as a composer project coordinator. Weirdly enough, Luke and I both went to the same university like a few years ago, and we got chatting on through some friends on New Year's Eve, and yeah, I said to Luke, come along, let's be part of a show, so yeah, welcome, thanks for coming.
Hello. It's good to be here, back at my old university.
Does it feel weird coming back?
It does feel weird. It feels very weird. These hallowed halls of memories.
Good memories?
All good memories. Mainly good memories, yeah, all good.
Because you were obviously studying and growing up, you learned guitar.
Yeah, so growing up, I played drums for 10 years.
Okay.
Drums was my first instrument, my first love.
Your first love.
A bit like yourself.
I'm your first love?
Yes, you are my first love,
Okay.
No, drums was always there in the house. Music was always there in the house, but drums was the affiliation.
Okay.
And then guitar came in my teens when I realised you could make music instead of hitting things, which was a delight and a treat for the creative output.
Yeah.
But yeah, guitar at university during my degree, and I would still class guitar as my first instrument.
Okay. Do you still get to play much now?
Guitar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Always writing.
Okay, nice.
Not so much playing in bands anymore.
Okay.
Due to my job is a full-time requirement, so the sort of live playing had to fall by the wayside a little bit, but you know, still practicing, keeping that sort of muscle flexing, as it was.
Yeah. Just keeping the chops up, like still
keeping the
working on new
chops up.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, still jam with people.
Okay, nice.
Always writing, like I just mentioned, always writing with anyone and anyone. You know, it's one of those things where if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met many people on the road of life who used to do music and they just didn't do it, and it stopped. And it is, if you don't use it, you do lose it. It's not like riding a bike where you get back on a bike and you remember how to do it. You know, if you don't practice a skill, you will forget how to play it.
No, definitely. It's just constantly reminding yourself of how it works.
Yeah, it's revision.
Yeah,
on a
100%.
constant basis.
But I'm guessing that sort of lends quite nicely to your job because, like, so tell us what it means to be like a composer project coordinator, because that's a hell of a title.
It is a hell of a title. It's it's a title that encompasses quite a lot of things. Coordinating being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I work for AudioNetwork, which is one of the largest music production companies in the world. I think it might be the biggest one in the UK.
Okay.
And we make music for TV, film, all types of media that need music. And yeah, I've been in that job for about 1 year and 4 months.
Okay.
The job itself, my job, is working with composers on a day-to-day basis, briefing them to make music, and helping them along the way from beginning to end, from the concept of the idea to delivering the album and getting it to our clients, which is a very quick sort of synopsis of what I do.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good job. It's a hard job, challenging.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, working with creatives, working with musicians, it can be challenging.
Of course, yeah.
But it's the payoff is we make absolutely outstanding music, which you hear every day, but don't realise it. It's
okay. So can you give us some examples of stuff we might have heard but didn't realise it came from AudioNetwork?
Well, anything you hear, most things you hear on TV is probably AudioNetwork.
Okay.
One of our biggest clients is the BBC. We work with ITV in the UK, NBC, HBO in the US, Vice as well.
So it stretches really far out then. It's not just limited to the UK
Yeah,
island.
we're not the UK. We've got offices all around the world.
Okay.
LA, New York, London, of course, Paris, Berlin.
Wow.
Just got a new music consultant in Tokyo, Japan. So trying to get the Asian market on the go.
Wow.
Which is a tough market to get into. But yeah, all these companies use AudioNetwork's music daily to fulfill their briefs for film and TV.
So for people who, like some of the listeners who might not be musicians, for like a music production company, Is it so kind of like to get the chain of events? Is that I don't know, say like a TV show will have a brief of we want like this really dramatic music, and then they go to you and you source a composer, or what's the chain of events with that?
With production music, it's not as bespoke.
Okay.
So it's not like if you came to me and was like, I need we need like a fairy Harry Potter-esque style thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give it us? I won't go to a composer and say, do this just for this one client.
Okay.
What we do is we're data driven.
Okay.
Creatively led. So we use data that we gather from our clients, trends within the music industry. Our sales teams deliver us sort of briefs that clients are asking for. They might look through our catalogue and be like, you've got a great selection of, I don't know, dark, tense music.
Mm-hmm.
We need something a bit brighter. Have you got anything a bit brighter?
Okay.
We'll have a look. We do have it because we're good at what we do. But if we didn't have it, we would simply wait until that became a little bit of more of a demand.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't just take it off one request, because we do get some bizarre requests like Ethiopian jazz. We're not going to commission an Ethiopian jazz album for a small company in Amsterdam to use, because it wouldn't make sense financially or for the catalogue creatively. So what we would do is maybe if we sort of seen a trend, see 3 or 4 bright tension requests, that's when we'll go to a composer, be it new or one of our current composers that we have on the roster, and say, hey, do you want to make this bright tension album? Here's the brief, here's the references, and they'll make it for us, and the client gets what they want, and it adds to the catalogue.
So I'm sure it like differentiates between a lot of cases, but if you were to give a brief to a composer, kind of what's the turnaround you're looking at doing?
It all depends on what it is.
Okay.
So if we still use the bright tension underscore style thing as an example, just to keep the sort of cohesion of the story arc, that could be turned around within 4 or 5 months, 6 months.
Okay.
9 months max. I wouldn't think something like that would take 9 months, but that could be a very quick turnaround, especially for one of our sort of more composers we go to for that. Mm-hmm. If we went to the usual suspects for something like that, it'd be a quick turnaround. However, if we're doing something a bit more high end, something a bit more orchestral based, we record all our music at Abbey Road, orchestral music at Abbey Road.
Okay. Wow.
We are Abbey Road's biggest customers, I believe. And we've been doing it there since, well, I'm not too sure actually. Probably when it founded, really.
Okay. Do you know how old the company is? Of AudioNetwork?
Oh yeah, so it's 18, 19 years old, so 2002. Yeah.
Oh, okay, wow. So fairly recently, I suppose in next to Abbey Road, which is obviously
historic event. But I think so that an orchestral thing at Abbey Road might take longer. We need availability for the studios. There might be other time restraints, but we generally don't like to sort of have things linger too long. Okay. As you know, in the music industry, there is trends. Billie Eilish is a trend.
Yes.
You know, we're not going to sort of linger on it and then sort of give it to a client, and then the client's going to turn around and go, this is so 2016 because it's taken so long. So we do work with people who we know can work to a time constraint or a sort of a deadline.
Of course, yeah.
But it all depends on the music, how long a turnaround would be. But there's never just one project of a single thing going off at once. Okay. There might be if it's really like specific,
like the
Ethiopian jazz. Yeah. Maybe if we decided to pull the trigger on that one, actually do it. So if it was that bright tension thing, we wouldn't just have one composer doing it. We would have maybe 2 or even 3 sometimes, just to keep the sort of
all working on the same album. Or
no, working on the same brief.
Okay.
Different albums. Mm-hmm. Just to fill the catalogue with a nice diverse range, because a composer is going to, one composer is going to approach bright tension in a different way to another composer, so it's going to keep we want the catalogue to be diverse and have everything for a client to just come along and go, well, I like that, is there anything else? And then they can search for another bright tension. Now this is done by so and so, this one fits my brief better.
Right, okay. So
it's all about having a nice diverse but quality filled catalogue.
Okay, so they've actually got that choice instead of here's the only flavour. Like here's a
Yeah,
multitude of
here's
different
a-
things you can
yeah,
pick from
yeah.
for what's going to suit that piece of media best.
Yes, and also we do versions of songs.
Oh, okay.
So, say if you had an orchestral piece, which was, let's say, a full symphonic arrangement, you have
Mhm.
brass, strings, woodwinds, percussion,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking big,
Yeah, yeah.
big trailer music.
Okay.
We offer versions,
Okay.
so we will offer a version without brass, but still with everything else. We
okay.
offer a version without the strings if you wanted it.
Right. Okay.
And then 60-second version of the track,
Okay.
30-second version, 15, and then stings. So stings, for anyone who doesn't know, is a piece of music which is anything between, could be 3 seconds to 7 seconds.
So just little snippets.
Yeah, so it's what you would hear play after a commercial break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, welcome back to Good Morning, do 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 do. It's like the main
That
melody sort of hook of the theme or something. So we offer
Okay.
those as well, and that just gives the clients and the editors, the film and music editors for these production companies, to have everything at their fingertips.
Nice. Okay.
Just to have it all so they can chop and change,
Okay.
make sure it fits theirs.
Uh-huh.
And you can see this all on the website. When you click on something, it'll say 15 mixes or 12 mixes, and if you click on that, you can just see all of them.
So how does your job sort of relate to that? Obviously, like you said, you've got a writing background, growing up in your teens and doing your degree and playing guitar a lot. Do you get to sort of work on some of the briefs with the composers, or do you just oversee it?
Yeah, so my role is basically a glorified producer. It's
That sounds good.
yeah, it is. It's a very sort of standoffish producer role.
Okay.
It's somewhere between the lines of A&R and producer, which is a very blurry world to live in. But we guide our composers through the brief. If they send us a demo of the brief, we go, this is great, but why don't you change this? They might change it and be like, oh yeah, that worked, amazing, or they might come back and we might say, actually, that didn't work, let's not do that. But it's not just me making the decisions. We have a very experienced and talented music team at AudioNetwork of people who know what they're doing as well. So it's a very collaborative effort within the music team to make decisions on sort of the creative aspects of the music. But yeah, it is a bit of a producer role in a way. So if we did the Ethiopian jazz record, I don't know anything about Ethiopian jazz,
Right.
but someone in the team might, and they might be a jazzer, and they might be able to offer some sort of advice or just a creative avenue for composers to go down. Majority of the time, credit to all our composers, the majority of them nearly all of them hit the nail on the head straight away.
Okay.
They get the brief. But that is just due to, like I said earlier, with our sort of data insight and how we have references for the briefs and the clients know what they want. We know we know what they want, so we can really give the composers really specific instructions rather than, we need it to be purple, make this sound purple. It's it's not going to be like that. It's going to be, we need this Ethiopian jazz from this specific region of Ethiopia, can you do it?
Okay. So it's a lot more kind of isolated, and I suppose they've obviously got the freedom because they're creating it, but it is still like, this is the region, this is the time period, this is the key, the mood.
At the end of the day, when you view sort of production music, it's not like a normal album from your favourite artist. It is built for purpose. Yeah. Like any bespoke, any composition, from John Williams to a small thing on BBC, which is probably AudioNetwork, admittedly, but it's built for purpose. You're not just sticking a random song over a piece. All our music is built for purpose. So, nice.
Just talking about John Williams, I found out a really cool thing the other day, just a tangent slightly.
No, it's cool.
So obviously, like, he's done all the Star Wars music
yes.
since 1979. 79, the first one?
It might be 79.
Or his first one. Yeah, whatever.
I hope my dad's not listening. My dad will kill me for not knowing that. But yeah.
But he apparently appeared in the latest Star Wars movie.
I did not see him.
No, neither did I. I only found out afterwards on the internet. When they go in, there's a scene in a bar somewhere, and just very briefly you see a bartender, and that's John Williams.
Yeah, they say that, but he'll be caked in prosthetics, like
just a green
like Simon
alien.
Pegg was in Force Awakens.
What?
He played. Was it Mars Kaplunk? What's the guy? The scrapyard guy who gives the rations out to Rey. Do you know the big guy? Yeah, that's Simon Pegg.
No way.
Yes, and it's like that. Like they're not gonna just be like, oh yeah, that's John Williams featured in this scene. Yeah, but he was caked in prosthetics and stubbed up the back, so it's no wonder we didn't see him. But no, I was just listening to the new score today. Actually, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I actually enjoyed the film.
Yeah, me too.
Surprising.
No, I did as well. A lot of people have bad stuff to say about it, but
yeah,
it ties it up. I think it's a good movie.
I think it's great, and the music was great.
Yes.
And I think, for all the listeners out there, if you want a penultimate sort of John Williams score for Star Wars, Binary Sunset from New Hope, which is the sort of, everyone classes it as the Force theme almost. It's the, when Luke realises he's a Jedi and he stands on the dune at Tatooine and watches the two suns
when
in the
he's
sky.
looking out to it with the hope in his eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is, it's the quintessential John Williams Star Wars score, and they brought it back for the last scene without any spoilers. It's not a spoiler, it's music. But it's in one of the last scenes in the film. And I teared up in the cinema when it's such a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah, it is.
And when they brought it, for anyone, to please do yourself a favour, do the world a favour and listen to that score, because it's phenomenal.
But it's funny on what you've just hit on now, about how music can invoke these emotions in us when you're looking at a scene of fictional characters that you might have grown up with, you might have just, got into the last 6 months or whatever, but that kind of music can make you tear up over people on a screen. And I just find that absolutely mind-blowing.
It's a primordial sort of thing within humans. I mean, music, sort of in a scene, in a film, if there's music in it, it evokes an emotion, and if there's not music in it, it evokes an emotion. So even the absence of music
definitely
adds a sort of another level of emotion to a scene. And I do understand sort of the sort of biological aspect of people getting emotional at a song. Not just, we're talking about John Williams, but if you played Over the Rainbow to my grandma, she'd probably get emotional,
and that's her,
and that because that's her, and
it's a trigger, isn't it?
It's all connected to memories.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
if you play Toto Africa right now, I haven't played that song since I was at this university.
Yeah.
I'd probably get a little bit emotional because I'm in my old uni and that song evokes the emotion. So I think it's all to do with the psychological sort of recalling of memories to music, which has the impact. Like, I grew up with Star Wars. When Binary Sunset plays, it reminds me of not just my childhood, but the sort of the progression of the film.
Definitely.
The beginning and the end, the journey,
It is a journey. And it's funny how you touched on the absence of music, and I want to say I was watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I haven't seen that yet.
And there's it might be that I can't remember which film, but it really stuck out to me, and it was just a fight scene between two guys where they're just arguing a little bit, gets a little bit heated, and then one guy throws a punch, and the next guy punches him back, and it starts to get like really bloody in an actual bloodthirsty fight, and there's no music, and you suddenly go, because you realise you're holding your breath in that anticipation. Yeah. But the composer's done nothing.
They've done nothing. Well, they've done something. He's made a creative choice to not do anything, and so is the director. They've made a creative choice to leave it out, and I think that is part of space within a piece of music. Is just as important as the intervals, the notes, the rhythms.
Definitely, it creates almost like the tension and release, and that anticipation of, like in this particular fight scene, like, what's going to happen next, like, because you think someone's going to die, or something's going to really, like, this is a turning point in the movie. But it is, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's a creative choice.
Yeah, it is a very creative choice.
Which I think is, I love when you see, I think it's like such a running joke in Family Guy, but when they see like the old Adam West Batmans, and it's like, kapow!
Yeah, it's I think, with sort of, I can't remember what I was going to say now. No, lost
Okay,
it.
no, that's good. We can come back to that. I know kind of before we hit record, which it's always funny because you do this when you hit record. You're like, oh, let's get back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
So obviously we're talking about sort of composers who it could just be, and probably is, a guy in their bedroom a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Who are in touch with you and they're sitting at their MacBook doing this, and then you've got the other side of it, which is the Abbey Road. So like you were talking about James Taylor. How does it kind of work when you have named artists, almost like household names, working with you? How does that go?
Yeah, so at AudioNetwork we work with not just composers but artists as well. Up and coming artists, artists that have already got flourishing careers, like James Taylor Quartet, which he was renowned in the sort of acid jazz era in the 90s. But how we work with them is, like I said, with the production music, it's built for purpose. People, when we work with our artists, that music they make still is available for sync.
Okay.
So with James Taylor, his album will be able to be used for TV and film after the release. But as much as it's fit for purpose, and as we'll sort of guide them, say, it's a lot more creatively led. It's an artist project. We're not going to turn around to an artist like James Taylor and say, this is great, but can you put in some more, tense drama into it, because that's what, you
can't almost direct it for a brief then. It's not like you're like, imagine you're looking at Two Dual Suns on Tatooine, like, play something for that. Like,
yeah. But admittedly, it's still an artist project, but James will still have usage in mind. He will still write those songs and those pieces thinking, well, if you took the voice off of it or took the organ off of it, that's a great sort of jazzy backing track for something. That's still a useful piece of music, which, again, like I said, is why we have the versions.
Right.
Because someone might be like, this James Taylor song is great. I really want this on, my new BBC show, but I don't want the organ. Not to worry, dear editor. We've got it.
You can take it off.
We can take it off. It's interchangeable, and with an artist, that helps them because their music's being played on TV. Which is prime exposure. I mean, James Taylor does not need any more exposure,
right?
But you get the idea. It's they're still they're getting something, not just creatively out of it, because we're helping to support their album, but they're getting something sort of more monetary out of it, because it's been synced for film and TV.
So do you, you don't have to use James Taylor like as an example.
No,
I don't know how much you can talk about some of his stuff, but with a lot of artists rather than composers, do you deal with the artists directly, or do you go to the record labels or their management, or how does it work?
So we work as a publisher.
Okay.
I'm not actually on the artist side. We have an A&R team. Very experienced and skilled A&R team who could deal with the artist projects a lot better than I can. So I'm more on the sort of composer side. So, but it's one of those things where an artist can come to us with an idea, and we could be like, "Oh, this is great. Let's use us as a publisher rather than a label." We're not a label.
Okay.
We're not like Universal or Warner.
No. But you're the means of doing the publishing of the sync contracts.
Yeah, it's like a Cobalt or not Cobalt. What's it called? Mine's gone blank. But yeah, other publishers.
Okay.
Basically. We're not a label. We don't function as a label. We function as a publisher.
So I'm maybe wrong, but I'm guessing a lot of artists come to you thinking maybe they haven't done their research and they think you are a label.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't miss a beat then. You're like, yeah, that
yeah,
happens.
yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Which I suppose it's probably an easy
there's nothing
mistake.
wrong with that. That's just the naivety of sort of ambition. Yeah,
and it's people just trying out and learning and getting pointed in the right direction, I suppose.
Yeah, if someone's ambitious about making their music career, they'll take the shot. No, because an artist could look at us and be like, well, their music's being used everywhere, and I wouldn't mind my music being use there. And an artist might come to us and say, I'm an artist, but I also wouldn't mind getting into this composing game.
Yeah.
And we could listen to him and be like, okay, but let's do it more of a composing project rather than under your moniker, if you will. But then we do have artists. Have you heard of an artist called Tom Rosenthal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Tom Rosenthal worked with us before I joined AudioNetwork, and he's more known as an artist than a composer, but his music gets used everywhere.
But people don't know it's him.
Well, no, they do know it's him.
Oh,
But when he used it, when he wrote those songs for us,
mm-hmm.
he wasn't using us as a label. He was using us as a publisher.
Okay.
Which then allowed him to release his music on DSPs and or sort of physical copies as well. But it also allowed him to have it sort of in the music production world and get synced, which has probably helped him out a lot. And it helps when we have an artist like Tom, who is his music is very syncable,
mm-hmm.
but also he has a massive cult following of fans, which a fan is probably sat in an editing room being an editor, and they want to use his music, and instead of going through loopholes on whatever major labels somewhat an artist could be, he could go on AudioNetwork and say, oh, I love Tom Rosenthal, his music's here, I can use it. And that's the difference, really. It's
interesting how you can sort of change the game around a little bit then, and I suppose it gives a lot of power to the artist, which is nice, because I remember, it might have even been with AudioNetwork. I remember when, I think it was the second Hobbit movie, The Desolation of Smaug, and Ed Sheeran did Icy Fire.
He did, didn't he?
I don't know if that was with you guys or...
No, it wouldn't have been. It would have been with his label. Is he on Warner? I think he's on Warner.
I'm not sure.
I think he's on Warner.
But I remember so many people sort of at the time who were Ed Sheeran fans but didn't know anything about The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Went to watch that movie because of Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
And then I think you have to wait till the credits and it plays. And we were like, oh, actually sat through 3 hours.
3 hours of Tolkien to
which,
listen to an Ed Sheeran song.
I mean, I love Tolkien and I love The Hobbits and The Lord of the Rings, everything, but I was kind of like, you could have just Spotify'd it.
Yeah, or YouTubed it, whatever.
It did make me laugh when people did that.
But that brings a whole new fandom of people from the Ed Sheeran fandom to how much the crossover. And that's just an interesting thing in itself. I know, just an example, we talk about Tom Rosenthal. He was recently synced on a podcast. It wasn't like a sort of recurring podcast. It was like a 6-episode sort of drama style podcast.
Okay,
I can't remember what it's called, but I went and listened to it because our track was used,
mm-hmm.
and I went and listened to this 6-part drama for no reason, just so I could. And it was in the intro, which is interesting because that's the crossover.
It was the same with AC/DC and Iron Man a few years ago. And that was, you remember, that seemed to be really controversial because people were like, oh my god, I can't believe they're using AC/DC.
Well, that was the start of the classic rock tracks in trailers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the beginning.
Still going.
And it's still going. It's still going.
I saw a trailer for if it's some kids movie or something, I don't know, but they used Welcome to the Jungle as the trailer track, and it's like, that's a 30-year-old album or something.
Yeah.
And that's still...
Is that Jumanji?
Might be Jumanji.
I think it was Jumanji, I remember that.
Yeah, that would make sense. Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's one album at the minute. That Gentleman, the new Guy Ritchie film with Hugh Grant.
Yeah, I've seen the posters on the tubes.
Yeah, that one's got a classic track on it. I can't remember what it is. It's either Deep Purple or Sabbath. I can't remember which one
It's Sabbath, I think.
It's Sabbath.
I think... Is it Paranoid they're using? I'm not sure.
But it's a crazy...
But still, it's...
How that sort of... That's a trend.
50-year-old songs still being used now. But it's setting all people who... if you go to see Jumanji, there's going to be like 12-year-olds in it, I'm sure. And they're like, hang on, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, Guns N' Roses.
To be fair, I'd love for 12-year-olds to go to see Jumanji and their biggest takeaway was, I'm going to listen to Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. Yeah. That would be
the poor parents.
Faith restored in humanity if that was the case. It's so interesting how it's a trend within film sort of score and within film trailers to have that.
sort of going on from that topic, I suppose now, because you kind of made me think of it a little bit. Obviously, you're working with these different artists, and it is sometimes their songs with the lyrics that are used. Have you ever sort of encountered any projects where maybe the lyrics are a bit controversial, or you've had backlash from if it's been used in media and the public backlash at you?
So
Backlash.
Yeah, I've not in my time.
Okay.
I imagine after 19 years of AudioNetwork, there would have been some kind of issue. But we are very diligent to sort of screen a lot of the lyrics. It's got to be media friendly. You know,
so it's got to fit all ages.
Yeah, we do have explicit songs if they feature swear words or slurs.
Okay.
You know, within, you know, sort of a correct way. We're not saying like slurs in the sort of stance of it's gonna be a hate crime slur. But if it's something that's a little bit like a swear word, sometimes we do have explicit versions and clean versions.
Right. Okay.
Because we're not gonna stop. You know, someone might need a swear word version for a piece of film. You know, we're not going to be like, we're clean only. You know, it has its use. But yeah, not in my time. Nothing.
But it goes back to using the alternatives, like you said, and so you've got that clean version.
Yeah.
So
all about having
dirty
options.
Version.
Yeah, dirty version, explicit version.
Explicit version.
Well, it's just like iTunes or Spotify or anything. You know, if you listen to, you know, NWA's album, probably not, that's a bad example, but, you know, just as an example, it probably doesn't exist, but there probably would be a clean version and an explicit version. You know, it says next to a track, like, explicit. I know before I've gone on iTunes and Apple Music to listen to something, and I'm there singing the words, and I'm singing the explicit version, and I'm like, where's that word gone? And I look on my iTunes and I've downloaded the clean version, you know. And I'm like, yeah, God, like, where's the balls? You know, they've got rid of it.
I don't know, like Steel Panther records and stuff before, and you're like,
that'd just be instrumental.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't do a clean version of that. It'd just be instrumental.
Someone sent me a video and they did it was like one of them, like their worst. I think it was like Death to All But Metal, because every second word is a swear word.
Yeah.
And they overdubbed it with just beeps, and it is just. It's
like Giant Steps by Coltrane, just like. You know,
yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Steel Coltrane. Panther Train.
That's kind of cool name, actually. I like that. So let's talk about what did you do before AudioNetwork? Because you were working for is it Brains and Hunch?
Brains and Hunch, yeah. So, yeah, while I attended uni in my summer over the end of first year, I took it upon myself to try and get at least some experience in the music industry, instead of leaving it to the last minute when I graduated and being like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself in that summer of 2015. I think it was 2015. Yeah, 2015, to get an internship.
Okay.
Try to get some experience, whether it was paid, unpaid. I just wanted to get something under my belt.
Yeah.
So I applied to absolutely hundreds. I think it was about 200 it was over 200.
Wow.
Places I applied to.
Just for an internship.
Just
that
for
might
an
not
internship,
even be paid.
might not even be paid. It was just something.
Wow. Okay.
And I got some. For anyone who's like sort of younger listening to this, try and get as much experience as possible. I got 200. I sent out 200 applications to places, and I got 199 no's. But those no's weren't no. We don't need you. A lot of them were no, but here's some advice.
That's good.
No,
so you got some feedback.
Got some feedback. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And it pays off, because these people, as everyone knows, the music industry can be ruthless and very cutthroat and very competitive, but it's full of nice people. And I think it does get a sort of from an outside view, it can look quite daunting and scary. But a lot of the time, people are looking out for each other. And luckily, the 1 out of 200 was looking out for me and took me on. And that was Brains and Hunch. So they are a bespoke, independent composing studio.
Okay.
It's run by two two guys called Tom and Chris. So it's Tom Haynes and Chris Branch. So it sort of made Haynes Brains.
Brains and
Branch,
Punch. Okay.
yes.
No, it's called
Yeah.
a word play.
Yeah, and they've been going since the 90s.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what year.
But quite an established company then. It's obviously kept itself afloat.
Yeah, it's always been them two, and then they have a studio manager and sound editor called Laura Selby, who was at the time it was just those three when I joined.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined, three became four, just as an intern, and they do everything. They do loads, smorgasbord of music composition, everything from Disney to DreamWorks.
Okay, wow.
To independent sort of animations, to art installations, you name it, they do it. For people listening, if you ever watched Channel 4 or BBC, probably BBC 3, they do BBC 3 iDanced, the things between the programmes. They did the music. They did the music for that.
No way. That's cool.
There's a meditation app called Headspace.
Yep. Yeah.
All the sound design and music is Brains and Hunch.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, and that was while I was working there. So just to give the story arc of when I was there, I was an intern for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Unpaid.
I was just going to ask you.
It was unpaid, but they paid for my travel, which was very nice of them.
Okay, great.
They paid for my lunches sometimes, most of the time.
To be honest, that's probably more than most. More than most companies will do for
you. They sort of just respected me for what I was doing. The jobs I was doing weren't glamorous. They weren't at all. It was making cups of teas and coffee in the beginning to just sorting out paperwork and getting everything just, admin, basically. Yeah. I was an admin machine, which has followed me throughout all my career choices so far, but I think admin is a very important thing within anything. And it's a good lesson to learn, especially at an independent studio where, it's very cutthroat and competitive in that industry. So it teaches they taught me a lot, and I owe them a lot because I wouldn't be where I am now, AudioNetwork, without Brains and Hunch.
So they took you under their wing and taught you the ropes essentially.
Yeah,
then.
And it wasn't just teaching me about business and how a studio works. It was teaching me about music. Any questions I had to Tom and Chris and Laura, it was they answered. They weren't like, no, not right now, go away. It was, give me a minute, I'll tell you. Or most of the time, if anything, I was a distraction. It was just like, how do you do that? And then they'd stop working and be like, well, this is how you do it. Yeah. And they opened me up to a lot more music and a different world of music. A bit of a shout out. They're in a band called the London Snorkeling Team, which is a very eclectic sort of genre of music. It's like music composition, but in really short snippets of music.
Okay.
In sort of a more concept basis. It's very muso. It's very muso, but I recommend you go and listen to it because it's crazy music. I love it though.
And it's the London Snorkeling Team.
Yeah, the London Snorkeling Team.
And that in itself makes me want to listen.
Great
to
name, I know. I remember when I first started, they told me the band name. I was like, that's a great name. But they toured with Portishead.
Oh,
I played
cool,
gigs with Portishead and stuff back in the day. But yeah, but they don't do that as much now. But they mainly compose them. But they're great people, and they taught me a lot. And I'm still in contact with them.
Nice.
Still see them every now and then. They're great guys.
So how did you make the jump from sort of going from kind of like the T-boy, up to your current role then?
So it was sort of this thing at Brains and Hunch where, at the time it was as you know, as a musician, and if any musicians are listening to this, you have many fingers in many different pies. So at the time I was doing 2-3 days a week. Well, when I was an intern, it was like 2 days a week at the studio. I was teaching. I was playing in bands. I was, helping producing with people. I was, recording with people, doing sessions here and there, and gigging. So at that point, when I was an intern, and I was still at university, so I was still learning here. So it sort of, that sort of job sort of really set me up because it still allowed me to explore different avenues, find what find what turned me on within the music industry. Do I want to be a session guy? Do I want to be a T-boy? Like, do I want to be in a studio? And I think that's what's important to do, is to try those things.
Massively.
You don't know until you've tried it.
And I think so many people go down maybe the wrong path, because you do think, oh, you want to be the next big session player, playing all these albums, and okay, yeah, a few people can do that. The reality is you're probably playing Mustang Sally on a Saturday night a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Which some people can do because they can maybe see a bigger picture, but some people hate doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And
neither's wrong or right.
And working for Brains Orange really found my feet in regards to sort of what I wanted to do. I've always loved composition. Forever.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time where I didn't love film score, mainly. And it really sort of like allowed me to sort of get that sort of experience within a functioning, working, successful studio, and sort of make a conscious decision. I want to be within this world of composing. Whether it be helping the composers themselves, which is sort of the role I'm in now, or sort of writing the music, any Foley, sound effects, sound editing. Did a bit of that at Brains and Unch, helped out with that a couple of times, every now and then.
So for people maybe who don't know what Foley is, it's such a weird thing to describe, really, isn't it?
Foley is a closing door. Like in films, when you hear a door opening and shutting, when you hear footsteps down a hallway, when you hear a dragon breathing in, Bilbo's face, that is sound design and Foley. Okay. It's all done either post, well, it is done post. It's rarely done pre-filming, and it's to add in sound effects and the sort of bring life to a scene, because on a set they can't always capture those sound effects on set, and especially in today's sort of movie making conventions where like CGI, sort of stuff like that, that's going to be done in post. Yeah. So they need the sound effect of a dragon. Yeah. This Smaug in going back to we use Hobbit. Smaug was the lead sound designer's daughter. Screaming into a microphone that she used for a school project to show how, what does my dad do, sort of thing. Wow. There's a great documentary on YouTube, the making of The Hobbit, and the sound effects and music part of it is stellar. It's unbelievable. So check that out. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay. But that's basically what Foley and sound design is. Okay. But yeah, that's so at Brains and Hunch. After like a year, they took me on sort of part-time. Sort of very flexible hours, again, because I was still teaching, so I I'm still doing everything.
Still studying.
Yeah, still studying, yeah, and then I was just a studio assistant, sort of, it was more flexible at that point. And then, after I graduated in 2017, they offered me a bit more time at the studio. Okay. And they were really nice enough to sort of take me from sometimes 4 days a week.
Wow, that's good.
On and off, but still allowed me to dip my toe in the water of new things. Like teaching was one of them.
Do you still get to teach much now?
Yeah, I still teach on Saturdays.
Oh, nice.
I don't need to. I haven't given it up. It's just I haven't given that up yet. I probably will one day. But it's one of those things where, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's introducing a kid, a child to a new piece of music is like, for anyone who's a teacher. I know you had Ryan Wilson on, who is a teacher himself. Introducing a kid to a piece of music and seeing their eyes light up like you did when you heard that piece of music is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things. Yeah. I played Whole Lot of Love to my one of my older students. He's about 12. Yeah. And the riff comes in, and he heard it, and he was like, "What is that?" It was like he just didn't know, because I was like, because he's into Shawn Mendes, Ed Sheeran, what's that other band called? 5 Seconds of Summer. Okay, those sort of bands. And I played him Whole Lot of Love by Zeppelin. And he was just like, "What is this?" Yeah, and I was like,
"It's just never been exposed to it."
It's never been exposed to it. And I was like, "This is Jimmy Page." Welcome to this world that we call rock. Yeah. And that's the fulfilling part of teaching. But yeah, I will stop eventually. But Not yet.
I don't think you ever do though, really. I mean, and even now, I used to run a little private teaching studio with another drummer, and then when I went and did touring for a few years, I was like, I can't. Like, there's no way I literally can't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be in the country for a long time. I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I had to say goodbye to a lot of students. And like, I remember that experience. I was like, okay, like I give them warning and everything. And I was like, okay, today's my last day. This is fine.
Yeah.
And I was just in tears.
Yeah.
That whole day.
God, yeah.
I didn't expect it, and like people bought you presents and like made you like gifts and stuff, and like said all this really nice stuff about like the impact of introducing someone to Zeppelin and how it changes their world.
Well, that's music changes it. Like that's the thing. It's not like learning sort of how to, I don't know, swim. I don't know. Like unless that kid is nearly drowning and then swims to shore, that guy isn't going to be thanked the same way.
You're drowning in Ed Sheeran.
Drowning Ed Sheeran, yeah, it's
the lifeguard of Jimmy Page.
Yeah, Jimmy Page, the golden hair flowing in the breeze. He dives in. They're not going to thank that swimming teacher the same as what they're going to thank you for teaching them how to play when the levee breaks on drums. It's completely different because that kid is now, like we said about having an emotional response to music. That kid is going to listen. Hopefully my student who I played Whole Lot of Love to is going to remember the first time he heard Whole Lot of Love and is going to be like, take that with him forever. I remember the first time I heard Whole Lot of Love. I was on a paper round on Lister Avenue in Sheffield, going down a very steep hill, going about 30 miles per hour on my bike, missing all my stops because I just listened to it going down this road, and then Dazed and Confused came on, and I put the brakes on, and because I had that bass line in the beginning, I was like, "What is this?" Running home to my dad and saying, "This album's amazing." That's the power of music, and
definitely.
In the composing world, you want the same impact from a viewer who was watching TV to go, "Oh my god, that song's amazing," and it fits this piece of music. Piece of film, and amazingly. I'm trying to think of examples in film apart from score. Yeah, that's like a song in a piece of film.
Where it's had that kind
where
of
it's had that massive impact. I'm trying to think what it. I mean, Iron Man with AC/DC.
With the Back in
Black,
Black, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, that probably had a lot of impact for people, but probably not the same impact. But yeah, they're sort of. Probably more on the composing side, like I said, with John Williams.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even stuff like anyone, certainly from our generation, well, actually saying 10 years either side of us, like if you say to someone, I don't know, what's the Simpsons theme tune, if they grew up in the US or the UK or probably most of Europe, they can do
exactly. They'll know it.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Maybe, I don't know if it's impactful. Well, I suppose it must be impactful, but something like Bare Naked Ladies, the Big Bang theme tune.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which everyone was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But then you actually go and listen to their albums.
Yeah.
And stuff like, if I had $1 million, like, you can be my Yoko Ono.
Yeah, Yoko Ono, yeah.
The best songs ever.
Yeah. I mean, actually, a great example, and this is a good one, American Pie.
Yeah.
The soundtrack to American Pie, whenever I hear those songs, takes me back to watching American Pie for the first time.
Yeah.
There's like Blink-182's in there. There's so many like Wheatus. Like there's so many like great bands that were like, and then you go and listen to the music and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like,
did I hear Wheatus? Have they done who was it? One of those old bands. Weezer's done a new album.
Weezer did a new album. They did 2 new albums. They did a cover album of like songs.
I haven't heard that.
Yet. That's a really good album.
Is it?
Actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then they did just their own thing again.
I'm always a bit scared when you see the. Like I remember discovering. I think it came out when I was. I don't know how old. It might have been before I was born. Actually, I can't remember. But I remember picking up the Garage Inc. album by Metallica.
Oh shit!
Yeah. God. And I was like, oh yeah, this is like really heavy. And then you go back and listen to the originals, and you rediscover it.
Garage Inc. Did that have the cover of Queen on it?
Yeah,
it did. It's Stone Cold Crazy. It did, didn't it? God, yeah, I remember that album.
But then with James Hetfield,
yeah,
giving everybody another sort of
yeah,
hey,
hey, yeah. Give me fuel. Give me fire.
Ooh,
yeah.
I love the compilations on YouTube when someone's just put all of his oohs,
Yeah.
his ahs.
Yeah.
It's like it's 10 minutes.
My favourite is the Saint Anger snare over every Metallica song.
Oh.
Like it's over like Enter Sandman and Unforgiven. Like it's
Ga, 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 ga. So bad.
Lars Ulrich, the greatest drummer of this generation. I don't know. He's awful.
You know, the thing is, there's actually a great video with Lars where he's trying to do, some sort of, you see like these prog drummers who are like, yeah, and this is my signature snare, and you're like, oh, that's amazing because you just demonstrated it and did something I can't dream of playing. And then Lars is like, okay, so guys, like we get a regular snare drum, and he just like rips the
Smack the hell out of it.
well, he just rips a part of it off, like the strainer on the side. He just tears it off and then hits it with his stick, like not even hitting the center of a drum. And he's like, ba 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 ba, and he's like, and that's how you get a Saint Anger snare drum. It's like, no, you just broke something. That's not.
That's not. I mean, that is the Saint Anger snare drum. Yeah.
You know, like the thing is with Lars, if you go back and listen to the early Metallica stuff like Battery.
Yeah, tune.
The drumming on that, like early Lars.
Kill 'Em
stuff.
All. Off Kill 'Em All, the first Metallica album.
Yeah, Seek and Destroy.
Seek and Destroy.
Great track.
His drumming on that was great.
Yeah, back in the
I remember doing a cover of that with my first ever band.
Yeah, I did the same actually.
Like
yeah.
this is when I was on drums, doing a cover of that, and it was actually hard to play to keep stamina because Metallica songs aren't short. They're like 6 minutes long of just like thrash drums of just you know it's he had stamina, but it just I think the thing with Lars is he just didn't progress. Like
he's really weird now because he openly says I practice once every 3 weeks. And it's like, to be fair, like he's like a millionaire art dealer on the side.
He is an art dealer, yeah, but he doesn't have to do it. But like, neither does Mike Portnoy or Marco Miniman or
there you go,
Craig Blundell or any of those sort of guys. They don't have to do it, but they do because Gavin Harrison. How did I miss Gavin Harrison? But like
you know, I saw Craig Blundell do. I was like maybe 17, and he came to our college because we were like a Roland sponsored college.
Yeah.
And was it called the Roland Road Show, which was the worst name they could have picked for it because it sounded like a little like
Roland Road Show,
like I don't know,
Antiques Road Show.
It sounds like a mix between the Antiques Road Show and like the village fair that comes.
Or a
to
little
town.
man called Roland.
It's like hello everyone.
Hello, I'm on the road doing a show.
And these guys came in. Craig Blundell, he did like his little. They all played. It was just like guitar, keys, and drums.
Yeah.
No bass player, because. Roland keyboards
Yep.
and everything else they could do on that, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just unbelievable. And he did this bit in the clinic where he did this unbelievably complex pattern, and then had a little microphone attached to him, and just shouted out the colour of everybody's jumper on the front row. It was so bizarre.
While he was doing this like
insane
polyrhythmic,
like,
yeah. Sure.
But then we met him afterwards, and he was such a lovely guy.
Yeah, he drums for Stephen Wilson now. So did Gavin Harrison and Marco Miniman, who I mentioned.
Yes.
And he's insane. I saw him play Albert Hall with Stephen Wilson.
Oh, cool.
And, you know, someone like Stephen Wilson. I mean, Craig is a session guy, true, and Stephen Wilson can have any drummer he wants. And when he got Craig, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting, like a clinician.
Yeah.
Doing like these insane parts that Marco Miniman wrote. And he killed it because he's insane.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was a tangent and a half about we got a whole lot of love and we ended up on Craig Blundell. Wow, but we can't remember where we were.
Well, I think one thing I actually wanted to touch on, sort of going back towards maybe the film and media stuff, is like the Avengers Endgame. And the music that was used in that. Can you tell us about that process?
Yeah, so everyone knows Marvel and everyone knows Avengers, and hopefully everyone's seen Endgame because I thought it was a good film. But the third and last trailer was AudioNetwork. The music was AudioNetwork. It was a track called Torsion by one of our LA-based composers. Well, it's actually from New Zealand, but but he's mainly works out of LA, called Mark Petrie.
Okay.
And we have a series at AudioNetwork called Maximum Impact, which sounds as intense as it is.
So like superhero movie style.
It's trailer music. Think Transformers, think Marvel, think the big AAA titled things. It's that, and it's very it's very for a specific reason. You're not going to use it for the Archers on Channel 4 radio, you know.
That'd be great, wouldn't
I mean,
it?
you'd be great, yeah. Just this massive Mark Petrie epic just playing. No, it's for trailer use and for big epic pieces of film. But yeah, Mark got synced via Marvel for the Avengers Endgame.
Wow.
Which is amazing. It's a great accolade to have, especially at that point when Endgame came out. That was it's the peak of Marvel, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean they've been building up to that.
They're building up to the moment, and it was a big win for us in the music team.
Yeah.
I think we all revelled in the fact that a lot of us are fans of the films, and we were like, "Oh my god!" Like
this is actually
this
is us. We've helped.
This is us. Yeah, we've helped Mark achieve his creative vision of creating this massive thing, and it's pulled off, and now it's been used in a Marvel trailer, you know.
Just to touch on something you literally just said, which, you know, you've helped Mark, and I think, and tell me if you disagree or think differently, but and I think I'm almost in like a similar position in my sort of musical career where you do look to help others now, and I think you get to that point of maturity and maybe selflessness a little more when it's like, well, this person is this fantastic composer, you want to help them get to that stage, and you think more outwardly rather than, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
How can I be that person?
I mean, at AudioNetwork, we have a big ethos of sort of everyone work together. It's a team effort. It's not, you know, celebrate your individual successes, but share it with the team.
Okay.
You know, I don't think anyone in the team would wholeheartedly put that Mark Petrie track down just to them.
That was me.
Yeah, exactly.
I did that.
Luke at the back, just me at the back going, it was cool, it was me, I did it all. Like, it's not going to work like that. So when we do have successes, you know, it's not, we don't just be like, oh, that was Luke, that was so and so, it's a team effort. So when we sort of having the attitude of helping others is my job. Like I'm not there to imprint. Admittedly, I said, you know, a glorified producer, if you could view it that way. My aim isn't to put my footprint on an album. My aim isn't to be like, go home and listen to it while having a cup of tea and just being like, you know, oh yes, that was all me. Oh, can you hear that bass? I told him to do that. I told him to put that piccolo in that section. You know,
instead of getting that self-worth, it's for the product.
It's for but I do get stuff out of it. Because I hear it all over the place, which is the curse of working for AudioNetwork, is you become so familiar with the catalogue, you hear your music everywhere. I was in the hairdressers, the barbers getting me a haircut, and one of our composers, Bob Bradley, one of his tracks came on the TV, because they were playing the TV, and I just, stopped mid, and I had to turn around, while he was quitting my hair, because I was like, what? You know, and I got proud, because I was like, I actually worked on that album.
Yeah.
I talked to Bob about that album, I talked to the composer about that album, and you know, we talked about guitars on that album, and you know, and that is the seeing something to come to fruition from the beginning, like I said, a brief to the end. It's so fulfilling. Nice. Like it feels like you've been on that journey with them, because you have. Admittedly, you're not in the studio messing around with, you know, compressors or plugging stuff in or picking up a guitar and playing with them.
Yeah. But
you are there along the way. To a shoulder to cry on. You know, you're there to through the growing pains of a project. You're there to sort of, you know, celebrate with them. Like when they're like, I've written this one, it's great. It is great. I'm like, this is actually great. Like this is amazing. You know, and talking to these composers, because I'm still a creative. Like, you know,
well, we always will be.
We always will be, and it's, you know. It's a collaboration AudioNetwork. It's not corporate where we're just being like, make us an album. Like
you're actually with the artist, you're all on the same ship.
We are all on the same ship. You know, pulling the masts. You know, turning the wheel. We're all there.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm on shore going, go left. Like
I'm in port.
I'm sorry. You know, I'm on the ship with them. You know.
So where does the line? In AudioNetwork, at least, where does that line between A&R and then kind of your job, do you know what I mean? Where's the boundary? Because what you said there, it sounds very A&R, but you said you've got a separate A&R team.
So the A&R team's just for like more. So just to clarify, an A&R team, our A&R team isn't, it's artist and repertoire.
Mm-hmm.
They find new composers or artists, and they work on mainly the artist projects.
Ah, okay.
As a whole music team, it's sort of more producing the tracks.
Right. Yeah.
More sort of collaboratively just making choices and decisions on the music. And there is times where like we'll listen as a team, and then someone might say they don't like something, but I might be like, I actually really like that, and we will discuss it, and it'll be a very civilized conversation. It won't be like throwing toys out the pram or whatever. Yeah. We will have and we always come to a just and fair agreement, and we're not going to make that choice without the composer's consent. Like we're not going to be like, this should be like this. Composer doesn't get a say. Like it's not going to be like that. We'll talk to the composer. We'll be like, we've had a chat. We think he doesn't need the cello. We don't think it needs the vocals. How do you feel about that? And they might be resistant and be like, I think it needs the vocals. But we could meet them halfway and we'd be like, well, why don't you try and like do this or that? So it's a collaboration between the composer and the music team. It's not a dictatorship which a lot of other production companies are.
Yeah.
I am speaking for the hundreds of composers we've got, but they do enjoy working for us because we're easy to work with. We know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about, and they appreciate the creative feedback.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse. I've had experiences before in previous job and stuff where working with film executives, not creative, where they're like, we need it to be like this, and you do what they say, and they're still not happy because they can't articulate what they want.
Yeah.
They
haven't got that expression.
That expression,
it's exactly.
Yeah, or the knowledge to do it. Whereas we are, if anything, we're also like the translator between a production company and a composer.
Yeah. It's a nice way to look at it, isn't it?
Just to get the ideas across and be able to like I said, we don't do bespoke, so a client's not going to be like, I need it yellow, and we're like, okay, put in this. It's more going to be like, we need this Ethiopian jazz or whatever. Like, here's.
But it's nice to talk to you and hear the positive stories of the music industry, because I know you said you listened to, I think it was the last episode we did of Before the Crowd where I had Nadie on, and she was talking about her experience, sort of mainly in the 90s and the early noughties, working with different record labels who come into the studio with some songs, and they'd be like, you know what, that isn't what we're doing today. I'm the producer. You may have written it, and you may be the singer, or you may have a band with you, but I'm making this album, like, because this is my brief that I have to fulfill. Yeah. And it isn't like that now. I mean, okay, that is a record company against your company, but it's changed.
It has changed, and it's always changing. The music industry is the ever-changing animal it is, and, as technology advances and as new things come and go, I think the industry is getting better. I mean, everything,
like the hashtag Me Too.
Yeah, well, I think
it's such a positive change.
We're, AudioNetwork, we're always looking for opportunities to sort of keep the diversity, female composers, female producers, because we know how important it is, not just for the sort of, corporate view of we're being diverse, but we know how important it is
to be diverse.
You're not. If you have the same thing over and over again, it's not going to be. You're not going to produce anything new. Whereas if you bring someone in new who maybe hasn't had a shot before, which is specifically women in the industry, music industry, which they haven't possibly had the same sort of opportunities as what some men have. We are aiming to sort of incorporate them more in the business and sort of.
Right.
And give them the opportunity they deserve, And admittedly, we're not going to bring them on just because they're a woman. Like
I see. It's not for the sake of it.
It's not for the sake of it. We're not going to, and that goes for the same for men.
It's based on the work.
It's based on what you do. But the female, we have absolutely incredible female composers in our roster that some could deem better than. Some the men and it's the opportunity that we're hopefully giving to these women that will
it's just a new lease of life. I mean, I got a friend who works for Live Nation, which is like obviously all the venues and the ticketing for pretty much any sort of big band wants to sell out theatre or whatever, like they go through Live Nation. That is arguably one of the biggest companies.
No, it is, yeah.
Some of the benefits they offer for their employees is free gender transition surgery.
That's mental.
Because they're just like...
That's great.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like,
but it's... Obviously...
That's just the mentality of how the industry is changing.
Imagine that 30 years ago.
That wouldn't have happened 30 years ago. You would have been fired 30 years ago for even having any thoughts of anything like that.
Yeah.
You know.
But now it's just like, okay, we'll pay.
Yeah. It's like, we'll do it, sure. Like, which is great, you know.
I'm sure there's probably more hurdles to go through, but do you want to do it?
Yeah, alright, cool.
Just fill out an expense report.
Yeah, exactly. So if your expenses, this is an expensive
60,000.
one. Yeah, it's just like, you know. But no, it's great, and I think a lot of other companies and sort of businesses within the music industry are following suit.
You just have to, don't you?
Well, it's also, you know, you've got great artists who are standing up for things like that. You know, Lizzo standing up, you know, be who you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, Billie Eilish in some respects, sort of like, a lot of her music, you know, has messages of, you know, what's the track? I Wish You Were Gay, or what's the track where she's, you know, she's talk about sort of just the a different perspective on sort of the homosexuality thing, where she's not saying I wish you were gay, so I can't remember what it is. But again, artists like Billie Eilish, Lizzo, female artists especially, making an impact in an industry that, you know, is hard to impact a lot of the time, and when the women doing it as well. Even Cardi B, like strong, like the strong character she is, you know, she's hate her or love her music, like she's making absolute waves within the industry.
No, definitely.
And you know, I mean personally, I actually, as much as I hate to admit it, Lizzo songs do bang, and they are great.
It's the guilty pleasure.
It is the guilty pleasure. Juice is such a good tune. Like I absolutely love that tune. It's great production as well, you know, and it's.
We all have guilty pleasures. Anytime ABBA comes on, I can.
ABBA
sing
should not be a
all.
guilty pleasure. It should be a pleasure to enjoy. I love ABBA.
I will stand up and tell anyone one of the best days I've ever had is going to the ABBA Museum in Stockholm.
Yeah.
And you'd love it there actually, because
I really want to go.
they've recreated the studio that they recorded.
Oh,
in,
really?
And then they have like sort of tiny little digital what do you call them, like in museums, where the interactive games and stuff, and you can just mix a track.
Oh,
and it's
so
like,
cool.
how close were you to the original? Yeah, but it's like to the point where they just...
How close were you to the original? It's better than the original.
Yeah,
that is
like,
a remix. Save that remix.
Like, is there a drum and bass loop here somewhere?
Exactly. Just not some... Yeah, but you know...
You can dance.
Yeah, a drum and bass, like, sort of crazy thing over the top of it. A dubstep remix, go! No, but I think, band people like that are making moves in the industry, and it's good to see, and it's always getting better.
Definitely. So, to kind of wrap up now, last couple of questions. Favourite songs or tracks that you've worked on?
Oh.
And who were they with?
Ooh, that's a hard question.
That is a tough one.
That is a really tough question.
You can give multiple ones.
That I've worked on.
Well, you've been a part of it, as you said, in that team effort, in that collaboration sense.
That's hard. I would say, I mean, they're unknown to many of you because they're just composers. I mean, James Taylor's working on a new album. It's not a secret. I really enjoyed working on that.
Okay.
It's going to be great. Soon to be released. A lot of our big orchestral stuff. Like we did a Scandinavian folk orchestral thing. It's basically based on Tolkien. Sort of that style thing. A guy called Glenn Gabriel is Swedish. Lovely guy, great composer. That one I enjoyed working on. Every track had a story of Norse mythology, so every track had a concept. It's been really fun to work on. So you know, there's so many. But yeah, I just as an over-encompassing, I do enjoy everything I work on. I know it sounds so cheesy and so bottling it, saying like.
No, it's a cool job to have.
It is a cool job to have, and I enjoy it every day. Like whether it is a big orchestral thing or whether it's a tension underscore for like a weird synth thing. You know, it's enjoyable to work on and work with these people, and I do enjoy listening to most, if not all, the things we do. You know, be it glamorous, sort of high profile like the James Taylor stuff, or be it like just a normal, everyday composer just doing his thing. You know, it's good to listen to.
It's great. It's great you enjoy that. I think it was can you remember that movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
I love that film.
And what's his name?
Jason Segel.
Yeah, and how he's like that frustrated composer. And it's just like the same crime scene drama. It's like just give me some dark undertones. And he
plays that jazz piano loop. Yeah, you know.
And then just goes and writes his dream rock opera about
a vampire. Dracula. Yeah. There isn't that frustration. There isn't that. I don't want to leave AudioNetwork to go and write a Dracula themed puppet show like he did in Forgetting Sarah yet. But you know, I love working on everything, and so does, I would say, a lot. I'm speaking for the rest of the music team, but you know, a lot of them have been there for years and years because they enjoy what they do, and it's a very fulfilling job to have, like I said.
That's all you want in work. And kind of leading on from the Dracula rock opera, final question, where do you want to go next? What do you want to do next?
Oh gosh, 5-year plan.
5-year plan.
I don't know.
But like, are you working on any of your own sort of creative songwriting stuff? Is that going to come to light soon, or?
My main focus is still at AudioNetwork. Been there, like I said, a year and 4 months. Sort of my main effort is there at the minute. I am working with some artists on a more producer role. None that I can actually mention.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just getting stuck in still. Working with friends.
Nice.
Well, you know, for me, it doesn't have to be glamorous. Like, I'm not like, how many Instagram followers do you have? I'm not working with you. Like, I'm not like that. Like, if you have more than me, I will work with you, which is everyone. No, but you know, I'm not. I think, like I said in the beginning, it's if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you need to flex that muscle, keep it going. You know, whether it be with, you know, writing a song with my girlfriend, being stupid and just ad-libbing about doing washing or, you know, emptying the dishwasher or cooking, you know, it's still collaboration and it's still fun, and you know, I think that's the key, is having fun with it. And not losing that sort of, like I said about teaching, that child, that the inner child in us all, and keeping it, you know, your passion.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, focuses on AudioNetwork. I might still do some more freelance production and stuff just to keep it going. But yeah, my main focus is within the composing world currently.
Fantastic.
Probably will be for the rest of my life. You know, so
that's great. I got to work with you. I think we mentioned this the other day. I'm doing this metal album with Ryan, and you know, someone had to collaborate with you on.
Yeah, we talked about that, didn't we? Producing yours and Ryan's bombastic metal album, which I'm all for.
Which again, for me, it's just a creative outlet.
Well, that's the thing. You should have that. Like,
I don't know how people don't in life. I don't know how they don't have something that they focus their attention on, whether it's painting or any form of art.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I think everyone should aim to be Richie Blackmore, to be in as many crazy outfits as that man has been in. He's been in, you know, Rainbow, Deep Purple. He did his weird medieval stuff. You know, he's constantly doing things. You know, Dave Grohl. These people who are like massive don't just stop at Nirvana. Like, he did it. Exactly. You know, they like to keep on going. I think that's a lesson for any creative to sort of have in the back pocket, to always look at and be like, is just to keep doing stuff. Like, keep writing, keep doing what inspired you in the first place, whether it is working a day job, doing, you know, in an office, doing insurance, but coming home and smashing the hell out of a drum kit with your headphones on, you're still doing it. Yeah. Like, whether you're making money out of it doesn't matter or not at that point. Like, if you're getting some enjoyment out of it, which I know is easy for me to say, but because I know it does get hard when you like you sometimes hit a wall where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But if you keep on going and finding new things, you know, that's what it's all about. That's what music is all about.
Definitely. I think that's actually the perfect note to end on, and a really nice inspirational way to end the interview. So
there you go.
Luke, thanks so much for coming, man.
No worries.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's